The views and opinions expressed by the guests of Sasquatch Experience do not necessarily reflect the opinion of the hosts, sponsors, or affiliates of the Sasquatch Experience. As always, listener discretion is advised.
911, what are you reporting?
We got someone or something crawling around out here.
Does a legend walk among us, lurking in the forests of our world?
Did you see what it was? Was it a person or an animal or?
I can't tell. All I know is that my central light came on and I just happened to glimpse and see this thing running across the yard. A good-sized man or something that looks like a man. I don't know what it was.
For over 15 years, we've talked with scientists, researchers, investigators, and witnesses, trying to gain insight and proof around the existence of this mysterious entity.
Jesus Christ, you better... Cat, Zia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh. Okay, hang on.
He's right...
Is he in your yard, sir?
Yeah, God, he's big.
Okay, what's he doing in your yard?
He's looking at me.
Join us as we continue into the investigation of the Sasquatch Experience. Listening to the Sasquatch Experience live on Monday night, February 12th, 2024. I'm Sean the Fort Chop Forker, Vance Nesbitt, Matt Arner, and Henry the Bigfoot Encyclopedia May. Guys, good evening. Welcome to the show here tonight.
Hey, hey.
Hey.
Hey, hey.
There we go. It's a bunch of hey-heys as opposed to ho-hos, which I guess is a good thing we take that
That's
one.
a whole different show.
Yes.
Hey, pimpin' ain't easy, baby. Pimpin' ain't easy. In the famous words of our friend the Godfather. Guys, what a week it's been. We did that great interview with Shane Corson last week, and that was a lot of fun. Talking about the Bigfoot nesting area, his intro into the Sasquatch field. Got to know him a little bit more, and I've known of Shane for years. So we've kind of corresponded online, been in the same circles, but we never met until last week. So it was an honor for me to sit down with Shane and have some great conversation. Matt talked to our friend Alex Pedikov tonight a little bit before we, you and I have some things to discuss here before we plan our research calendar for the year. Some great things coming our way, not just for us, but also our listeners. Just a sneak peek of some things that are popping up on our Patreon. We got an exclusive video from James Baker. I don't know why I laughed the way I did right there. An exclusive video from James Baker. Don't worry, he's fully clothed. An upcoming watch-along of Sasquatch with Lance Henriksen. Not with Lance Henriksen, that would be nice, but Sasquatch, the movie featuring Lance Henriksen. With us, we got to get that in there. And then an interview with myself and my dad. My dad said to me, hey, why don't you ever have me on the show? I said, well, first of all, I like to have on people that are interesting. And second of all, I'm just kidding, Dad. I'm just kidding. I know you're not listening, but maybe you are. But he's like, well, I'm kind of responsible for this. I'd like to have I'm like, yeah, whatever. But so we'll get the old man on the show and talk to him a little bit about how the hell he got involved in Sasquatch, what was interesting to him, and why he gave that to me. I don't know, but that might be something you folks are interested in. So trying to build up our portfolio for the Patreons is we've got a lot to offer as we get back into the field. We got a lot more content coming. Matt and I got a pretty comprehensive list of things to do. And speaking with Alex Pedikov, it just got a lot bigger. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's me talking for 4 minutes straight, guys. What do you have for the housekeeping portion of tonight's show, gentlemen? We'll go around the horn. We'll start at Vance and work our way down.
Well, I did speak with Shane Corson, and he was very happy doing our last show, and he's excited to come back and do a part 2 to the show. And I'm looking forward to that because, boy, I have a plethora more questions to throw his way. And a very interesting individual. And if you want to talk to one person that has boots on the ground, it's definitely Shane Corson. So looking forward to that, and a very up and coming and soon addition to the Sasquatch Experience.
Very nice. Henry, what about you, bud?
Oh, well, I got to watch and listen to a very good interview last night on Squatch Detective with Dr. Jeff Meldrum. And
yes,
we need to try and get him on the show, too.
Mm-hmm.
I will be reaching back out to Dr. Meldrum. You know, and folks listening, I try to balance the show out so you're not getting the same guest on the same podcast over and over and over. I try to balance it so there's a little bit of a break. I know the good doctor's back in good health, and so everybody wants to have him on. I'm not opposed to having on Dr. Meldrum. I just want to give your ears a little bit of a break and make sure the show's a little fresh and new. But, Henry, that's a great call out. Steve Calls over at Squatch Detective Radio does have, he had a couple good interviews out. So if you get a chance, go over to squatchdtv.com and check out everything he's put up in his archives. Good friend of ours, Steve Calls, and glad to see he's pumping out some great shows. Also, speaking of shows, Henry, Matt, and Vance, Sasquatch Watch Radio re-debuted last week. Same time slot as us in the same night, but it's not the Monday Night Wars of pro wrestling. It's the Monday Night Sasquatch Wars. No, but I love Billy. He's a good dude. I'm glad Sasquatch Watch is back. And folks, if you get a chance to check it out, we'd prefer you watch us live. But if you had to make the choice, no harm, no foul. You can always catch our archives and always go and listen to us in podcast form. But our good friend Billy Willard's back out there. He's got Jeff Thomas on tonight, The Shadow, another good friend of ours. So we wish him the best. Welcome back, Billy. And good to have another old new voice back onto the airwaves. Sensibility is returning to the airwaves.
Speaking of Jeff Thomas, do a little bit off topic. Check out his Gen X rants on Facebook.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we'll have him linked up. Jeff's a good friend of ours. I love Jeff, and he's a fellow Man in Black at the Mothman Conference. Now he got us that gig. He's just an all-around good dude. Lots of fun. You put him and Baker together, though, man, you got quite a... You pack a change of underwear, I'll tell you. That. And Matt, Matt, we'll send it your way, brother. What else do you have? What do you have for us?
Well, I'll tell you, just to kind of go back with what Vance said, the Shane Corson interview. I mean, we literally it was like a scratch on the surface with so much knowledge and experiences that he's had, and for someone like him. He is, we're really have a new list of questions that we can ask him when he comes back on. So we're really looking forward to that. And you know what, I got to say, in this field and particularly with this podcast, we're lucky we get so many great people to come on the show, and within the last year, I mean, it has been fantastic. And again, Shane Corson was an absolute great guest, a lot of information, and that will kind of lead me into a little bit of what I want to talk about next, which is, and I talked to you privately about this, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, but let's just say with Shane and the fellow members of the Olympic Project, they've definitely have inspired, some of us here in Pennsylvania. And we'll have some more news coming out about that, hopefully in the next month or two. So
when you get Matt and I talking, when you get us talking about midnight about some projects and the conversation goes, something good happened.
Yes.
And some inspiration came from that. We've got some good stuff coming your way.
Absolutely.
Matt's not sleeping on this. He's ready to jump in and get started. Of course, guys, we'd also be remiss if we didn't mention our good friend Matt Knapp over at Bigfoot Crossroads hit 100 episodes. Very happy to see that. A good friend of mine, a budding partner. We've got a lot of upcoming projects we're working on together as well. This is all about collaboration, guys. I love Matt. He's a good dude. I love all you. I love doing this kind of work. If I could find a way to do it full time, I would. Because it is a lot of fun. But with that,
we refer to this as cross-pollination. That's what this is all about.
Listen, it's all about, we're all trying to do the same thing. And, there were some posts that were made on social media yesterday about how some of us have really tried to stay true to the research, but we haven't permeated that next level. We've plateaued, right? We haven't shown that growth that we're looking for. because we don't do the creepypasta-esque kind of stories, and that's just not what Sasquatch Experience was founded on. Like, this show was done in 0506, guys. For those of you listening that might not even have been interested in the field, we've been doing this a long time, and it was built on the fundamental principles of promoting great research and great researchers, and keeping true to the tenets of kind of a science-based conversation. We've entertained the woo time and time again, and I'm not opposed to doing that. But at our core, that's what we really believed in. And so we haven't wanted to talk about anything purposefully fabricated. That's always one thing we've even talked about offline, was we're trying to vet stories and sighting reports to talk about on the show, is that they're not fabricated, that they are real stories. And that's just who we are. If that's not your cup of tea, I'm sorry. And guys, that's probably why we're like good barbecue. It takes time. It's slow and low, right? And you know, look at us. Most of us won't pass up a good barbecue. And likewise, that's just a commitment we have for the program. So I know, I'm sorry you're not getting the creepypastas. We just don't talk about everything Bigfoot. We really want to have some truth behind what we're speaking about. And if that doesn't work for you, I'm sorry, but that's always what we've been about. And I continue to want to keep that spirit going. And if you look on our whiteboard back here, most people can't see it. It's actually got a nice bluish hue. Like, I have research and entertainment listed next to each other, with the research, subjects, and then the entertainment subjects. And I have sightings and encounters circled in blue with a line that says, the intersection we have to tread carefully here. And that's just, my commitment. I know the show's about Alabama Bigfoot activity, but I wanted to take some time and really talk about what we're about. I think people miss that. Oftentimes we get slammed because of the quality of this or that. Folks, we also bring all our hosts from different parts of the United States, totally dependent on internet connections, and we've spent a lot of money individually and corporately to try to make this the best product we can. And so I'm sorry sometimes if that doesn't meet your mark, but we do have a band of loyal listeners that have begun with us from the beginning. I don't want to go on too much about it, but this show is, really for the hardcore Sasquatch researcher. It may not be for the person who's pop culturally looking for significance. It's what it is. So,
and Sasquatch Experience, Sean and myself and Matt and Henry and even James Baker, who unfortunately is not with us tonight, we all communicate with each other throughout the week on putting pieces together so that when we do all join live together, we kind of have a coherent topic matter to talk about that's a little bit different than other Sasquatch shows. Other than this encounter happened, we're kind of going behind the scenes and taking a look behind what you might say the inside baseball, and taking a look at it from that perspective too, and putting the pieces together and try to come up with answers. So that's what we do. Definitely try to do here.
Right. And you've hit it on the head there. We do communicate. I think we are a good team. We're a tight team. God, Henry and I have been working together for nearly 2 decades now. Actually, exactly 2 decades now, Henry. 2024, we became acquainted and started getting into the mud. We did the X Zone radio show together. We've done a lot of things, and I'm proud of the partnership and friendships that we've made. Matt Knapp, we've known just as long, probably. So we take our friendship seriously because they are precious to us, and it's hard to keep good friends and people that are honest and working with integrity. And I'm glad that the people we associate with, we collaborate with, are honest people. And you can better believe we can put our Sasquatch Experience stamp of approval on that statement. So anyhow, enough of the housekeeping shit. One more thing. Today, as Kevin Morrison pointed out, was the 97th birthday of the legendary John Green.
Yes, it is.
I saw that, yeah.
Happy birthday, Mr. Green.
The man who kind of started it all for me inadvertently, and gave Henry and I a pretty good break by giving us a really significant interview early on in our broadcasting careers. It was pretty cool. So happy birthday, John. And gentlemen, let's, in the words of Judge Mills Lane, let's get it on. Let's get it on. So guys, what really preface this for me as we were talking about what to talk about in a show. And Vance is like, well, you know what would be a great idea is if we actually took a report and broke it down based upon how we would investigate it. And oddly enough, I was going through X the other day, no longer Twitter. And folks, if you would like to follow us on said social media platform, you can do so. Sasquatch Experience on Facebook, Instagram, Squatch EXP on X, not Twitter. We were talking about how, we would break something like this down. So interesting enough, Matt Moneymaker had made a tweet, and I covered some of you guys up. I'm sorry, they're not intentional. Mm-hmm. Attention, Birmingham, Alabama. On Saturday, January 20th, 2024, a property owner, okay, there's no good way to display this, so this is how it's going to go, on the wooded hill perimeter of Hueytown, Alabama, spotted a Bigfoot near his barn for the second time in 2 days. On this second occasion, he saw it run into his large, long, empty barn. He went to his trailer to get his gun, and right after he came out, he heard it break out through the rear corner of the barn. This happened when the temperature was 25 degrees and there were 20-mile-per-hour gusting winds in the area, lethal conditions for exposure. It almost never gets that cold and that windy at the same time around Birmingham, Alabama. Any animals in the area would not be accustomed to that. The property owner is not adept with his phone camera. Initial vids showing the site are sideways. He is willing to let a videographer come over to document what happened. The volunteer may be inclined to climb up the hill behind the barn, therefore the videographer should be a female in case the Bigfoot is still around. If you are merely decent with your phone cam, then you can do this. Let me know via contact info on BFRO.net. And there he put some maps on the Twitter with where the barn's at, the locations, so on and so forth. That was really interesting to me because, one, you don't get a lot of calls for help on, from the BFRO. Right? You don't get a lot of people looking for volunteers. Second, I don't know why it had to be a female, but maybe there was some logic that he just didn't transplant into that. So, gentlemen, let's talk about this. Right. We get this report that comes through, and there's some potential video evidence or the potential to get some video evidence. He's had not one but two sightings in the same amount of days. What the hell do we do? Where do we start this off? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
All right, Viddy Boo Boo, go ahead.
It's just because that's what I do. All right, so
that's what she said.
Yeah. Thank you. Look, with this report that was posted, there is no specific time of day that this happened. So I went back to my alma mater at Lewis University, where I attended to get my meteorological certificate in Romeoville, Illinois. Now, Lewis University is where the National Weather Service is hubbed for the central part of the United States, and the aviation, avionics, and anything in the aircraft field is related. So I went into their database and I took a look at January 20th for Hueytown, Alabama. The information that came back was the temperature that was described in the report was 25 degrees. I came up with 25 degrees on the graph from the National Weather Service between 6:15 p.m. and 6:40 p.m. in the evening. Now, this is in the Central Time Zone. At January 20th Central Time Zone, it's dark out. The sun is set. It is dark out. The winds that were recorded by the National Weather Service was at 15 miles per hour. The report said 20. Okay, that's within the margin of error. I don't dispute that at all. However, by midnight, it got down to 16 degrees. And of course, at midnight, now we're starting on the 21st of January. So that's where they cut off that data. The data for the information that was put into the report for the weather conditions was very accurate. And I'm narrowing it down to between 6:15 p.m. and 6:40 p.m. when this event happened. And
so what's interesting is you were able to use real data from the report to confirm that this could happen at this time. Right. That's really important because a lot of times there's ambiguity around what time things happen. There was no time given. So you're using actual atmospheric, scientifically recorded data to kind of get us a pinpoint at the time, we really should probably be looking at deploying any kind of activity.
Right. But it falls into the plausibility between, like I said, 6:15 p.m. and 6:40. It is totally dark out at that point,
Sure.
January 20th Central Time Zone. And, this is when a lot of activity does happen. So I do find a lot of plausibility in the report.
Right. And I think it's great that you took that information, was able to ascertain some more specifics. And again, when you try to put that towards the bullshit meter, typically those little details are what damn the hoaxers, right?
No,
they're not thinking that. Henry,
I've had, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt,
okay.
Henry, but there has been a small handful of reports that I've seen on the BFRO where the moon phase is wrong, the weather conditions are wrong, because I do look into it and it just doesn't match up. This, however, coincides like, two gears fitting together perfectly. So I give a lot of plausibility to this.
Very good. Henry, Matt, anything you want to add to that particular notation of Vance's there?
The way Vance reads the meteorological, I'm reading the geographical on this. So what I found was by pulling up the map, we are just a little south and west of the city of Birmingham, which is one of the bigger cities down there. So where the barn is, there's actually a close up, and he's on the outskirts of town, on the south side of town. To the south, and pretty much from the south, from where the red circle is all the way to the end of the photo, it appears to be nothing but woods. To the west, I could see a quarry. Quarries are actually, a lot of people don't really go back to quarry areas, especially on the outskirts, because you have cliffs, you have some other obstacles back there. So if you go to the west and then look and then go north, pretty much straight to Interstate 22, it's nothing but woods there as well. So right where if it's coming from the north, right where the area where the quarry is, it's almost like you may have a funnel there. So being a boots on the ground person, I would probably go over to the north, to the west, and then start going north to traverse along that little funnel where the quarry is, between the quarry and the houses, to see if there's any sort of prints, see if there's any other sign out there. Maybe there's a couple things that you can do as well. One thing I learned from my friends at NAWAC is putting up thread traps, which are, you put up the thread, anywhere from 6 to 8 feet up, generally to see if anything will pass through. If something does pass through, you can see the direction it went through. And if you have something that hits 6 and 7 foot, but didn't hit the 8 foot, you can get the size. But I would probably that would be my first choice to start looking for anything on the ground, anything that could be there. Then again, you also have the area to the south, excuse me, which is nothing but woods. And that could also be another corridor. It's just that would require a lot more people to kind of check that area out. But we're more, I think, if we weren't going to check those areas out, I would sit at sit in this guy's house and, kick back and just kind of chill, do more of that passive research. If there's anything there that disrupts the environment, whether by having multiple people outside or having activities that aren't, something that is normal, you may throw that, what you're trying to look for off. You may draw them in, but you always have that possibility of drawing them off. So I think, that would be pretty much my plan, though, is to get out on the ground, search those areas, and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
Really good, solid information in that part too, Matt. I really think, again, so we go to boots on the ground, we go to looking at geographical data, my part is let's get some shit going on in that barn, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
let's
right.
get some cameras in that barn. Let's do a combination of maybe some just Wi-Fi cameras to a DVR in the house, maybe a cellular, couple game cameras. You can disguise them really well in that barn. We know there's a specific entry and exit point in that barn that we could use. Why not thread trap the barn?
Yep.
We've got something going on in there, and let's make sure that every time we're going in and out, we're cataloging, taking pictures, making sure that we're notating any differences in the environment, whether it's disturbance of any kind of equipment or ground material. What do we have to work with? I'd like more details on that barn myself personally, how it's built, how it's constructed. I mean, it made its way out of the back corner of the barn, so did it leave a Kool-Aid man size impression through the wall, or what the hell do we have going on there?
Yep. There was another report, and forgive me for the fact that since we're talking about this, there was another report, and I don't even remember the location where it happened, but a woman spotted what appeared to be an albino type of Bigfoot that entered the barn, and that was getting into the dog food bags, the 50 pounds of dog food, and clearly it was emptying that. And she watched in horror, and this thing came out of the backside of the barn and was peeking around both sides of the barn at her, and then made off back up into the woods again. This doesn't seem to be, with those two reports, doesn't seem to be something that's that far-fetched. I think they may look for a refuge where they know that there might be food stored or even shelter, and make whatever use of it. Like you said, Sean, how many times in the past, the less amount of calories that you have to expend in order to gain calories, that's the shortcut in which I think a lot of these things are going to take advantage of.
Now, Matt posted that story on Facebook, not on Facebook, on X, right? I've not seen the actual report posted on the BFRO database yet. So there's a lot of questions I have.
I don't know that was on BFRO to begin with.
Right. I don't know. But normally when he's posting from BFRO. So I just went and looked at their database, and you're talking about, with this report, 12 reports in that general vicinity. Jefferson County, where this took place, I believe, where this happened, it's surrounded by counties that have had 4, 5, 3, and just one county, Shelby County, with one sighting. So the counties surrounding it have also had a decent amount of Bigfoot sightings. So historically, it's a pretty active area of Alabama in that general vicinity around Birmingham into Tuscaloosa County. I mean, it makes sense. So there's some history of report that's going on in that place. And I think not that historical reporting is the end all be all, but it does help make the case. We have a guy, once again, we go back to Matt, and we'll bring you over here so people don't have to look at me while I bring up that banner again. That tweet on a second occasion. What happened to the first occasion? So the second time in 2 days, what was the first encounter? Like, what made this guy all of a sudden now decide, hey, what I've just seen is now a Bigfoot? Was there? We need some more descriptors in here, at least for me, to start putting together the entire narrative, the entire story, so we actually had a case to investigate.
Yep. I was going to add too, with the barn. The one thing is especially when it's that cold out, if there's straw in there. That's decomposing, so that's generating heat, through the chemical process. So that could be something that, besides the food, that could draw something in. It's almost like when we were talking last week about the nests, when you lay those, the huckleberry branches down, they're going to slowly decompose. So you're going to get a little bit of warmth, coming through there.
That's a really good point. I didn't think of that.
Henry, you have anything to add to all this?
On a farm.
Well, Alabama is definitely has a history of Sasquatch sightings. I can tell you personally, having been there, having been to at least one area where there may have been sightings there in Alabama, there's a lot of forested areas there.
Mm-hmm.
And
go ahead, Henry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And again, I mean, it's quite historical. If you read Chad Armin's The Historical Bigfoot, there's quite a few historical reports from Alabama as well.
What do you think the chances are, Henry, of getting somebody out there to investigate this and getting some good sightings? Like it's not the first time we've had kind of a late breaking news. Let's, put some resources in this area, and then it's come up a little fruitless.
Well, I'm just hoping that they can get somebody out there to investigate this, because this sounds pretty promising if there's something going on there.
What do you think of the Henry Vance or the Vance Matt strategy so far? Looking at that data and looking at the geographical features to kind of come up with a game plan of attack.
I think it's pretty cool. I think it's great. That's pretty awesome.
Right. I think it's some outside the box thinking, getting into the setting up a game plan. I'd volunteer us if we were closer. Mm-hmm. We're just not that close. Right. Alabama's a little bit of a trip for this. Guys, we do have to take our break real quick. Hold those thoughts. We're late for the news and, well, also a special ad for the Squatch Pro Shop. Here we go.
Hello, I'm Vance Nesbitt, and you may know me from the hit show SASQUATCH Experience. Now introducing a new fan-based store of original SASQUATCH Experience merchandise, Squatch Pro Shop, offering quality-made and designed shirts from the classic prints to current prints. And now we're also offering the genuine Yeti Company Rambler travel mug with the custom-made SASQUATCH Experience logo. Stop by now and buy one shirt for the price of two and receive the second shirt for absolutely free. Visit SasquatchExperience.com and go to Squatch Pro Shop. Thank you.
Well, we're having a technical difficulty with the video. You guys want to talk there quick while I get the news segment back? If it's live, it was supposed to happen.
The Bigfoot bull.
Give me 1 second, Vance. Go ahead. You guys continue the conversation while I load that back up.
Well, that's okay because, I did my bit for the Squatch Pro Shop.
You did.
Buy one shirt for the price of two and get the second shirt absolutely free. Hope nobody complains about that. I really don't. Oh, and look at Sean. He just turned into this amazing looking Bigfoot with red eyes. Woo, isn't that amazing? I'll end it with keep your toes in the mud. Everybody knows what that means. That's okay. He'll get there. We'll all get there at some point. I'm sure there's probably been about 12 swear words said at this point from Sean. Son of a... What the...
Listen,
what is
I
happening?
added this once already today, okay? I switched to the other desk there real quick. Hi, folks. How you doing? And we are wired here at the studio. It's a little dark.
Yeah, well, that's okay. Well, no, that's okay. This is part of the fun of live radio.
Well, this is going to piss off the masses. That's okay. We'll get it taken care of, and it looks like it's processing now. I uploaded this earlier. I don't know what happened.
It's processing. Prostating.
No,
Yeah,
we're
that's
not
what
doing that.
It's prostating.
Oh, boy. Luckily, I can edit this before we post it out to the full masses in podcast form.
I mean, I could do the audio version of it. News team, assemble!
Here we go. All right. News team, assemble. Here we are.
News team, assemble!
Ah, yes, bringing a little bit of amusement and and seriousness right to your ears. A happy Monday night to you, or whatever night it is that you're choosing to listen to this, or even during the daylight hours. This is the Bigfoot Bullhorn, right here on the Sasquatch Experience. Yes, from Newsweek, it's coming true, people. From Newsweek magazine from 4 days ago, we are bringing the woolly mammoth back to life. We could have populations of mammoth that help to replenish the ecosystem and add biodiversity, making it as vibrant as it used to be. There have been some great published papers in the last year on what the mammoth steppe used to look and feel like, including its lost rich biodiversity. Fixing the degraded ecosystem with mammoths would create a halo effect over a long period of time. Moreover, we can help build a lineage of elephants that are far removed from human-elephant conflict, while developing tools to save existing baby elephants from EEHV disease. De-extincting the woolly mammoth is a great keystone project. It's hard because they have a 22-month gestation period. But unless a lot more efforts go into the elephant conservation, then at some point we're going to lose them as a species as well. From the perspective of science, you couldn't have a better focus for your study. To explore the phenotypic traits and investigate what makes similar species so alike, but also so different that they can inhabit completely different ecosystems. Elephants and mammoths are ideal for this. Untangling the genomics of mammoths and working on their reproductive biology is thrilling. The irony is that despite their familiarity, we know very little about their foundational biology, and so we're building that up, starting with actual genomes. We are accumulating one of the largest repositories of Asian and African elephant genomes and beyond, and adding in all the ancient genomes from the same lineage. We're super excited about all of the secrets that will be unraveled when we look deeper. The article goes on to say, every day we see this enthusiasm. Moms send emails to say they're so excited about our mammoth project because their children are enthralled by what we are doing, and they're asking, where can they learn more? We get teachers even asking for curriculum for their classrooms. We try to push a lot of content out there for people, and we're working on a docuseries about the project, and we hope that over time we can bring more exposure to the world's conservation crisis. But outside of the benefits to the planet, it's also just cool, and it's fun, and it's an inspiring thing to be doing. What could possibly go wrong? Somebody get Jeff Goldblum on the phone. Imagine when Sasquatch realizes it's no longer the tallest hair-covered creature walking on the planet. He'd be pissed off. When we come back, let's find out what might happen when you cross a Bigfoot with an extraterrestrial.
You're listening to the Bigfoot Bullhorn right here on the Sasquatch Experience.
This portion of the show is being brought to you by Ed's Almost Good Beer. Remember, Ed's Almost Good Beer was brewed in God's country when God wasn't looking.
Hello, I'm Vance Nesbitt, and you may know me from the hit show Sasquatch Experience. Now introducing a new fan-based store of original Sasquatch Experience merchandise, Squatch Pro Shop, offering quality-made and designed shirts from the classic prints to current prints. And now we're also offering the genuine Yeti Company Rambler travel mug with the custom-made Sasquatch Experience logo. Stop by now and buy one shirt for the price of two and receive the second shirt for absolutely free. Visit SASQUATCHEXPERIENCE.com and go to Squatch Pro Shop. Thank you. All right, so where would you go to cross a Bigfoot with an extraterrestrial? Well, you might want to go to the Penn, Ohio Paranormal Conference. It is March 30th of this year. It starts at 10 a.m. and goes till 6 p.m. This is the second Penn, Ohio Paranormal Conference, and the Master of Ceremonies is Mike Hartman. Some of the speakers will be Jim Boardwine, Robert Solomon, Dave and Corey Rupert, and Christine Solstice. The location is at Hickory VFW in Hermitage, Pennsylvania. And also remember, we are in a serious blood shortage, so if you can donate, donations are needed for blood and platelets. Just go to theamericanredcross.org and you'll learn more information because we are at a crisis level. Thanks again for listening to this edition of the Bigfoot Bullhorn right here on the Sasquatch Experience. And of course, as always,
keep your toes in the mud.
How we doing? We all back now?
You're muted.
We are. Yep, I can hear you.
Well, I am firing myself as
you are terminated.
Right. I just realized that after I'm talking, I shut off the microphones, but when the video automatically turns itself off, it turns the microphones back on. So I quit. No, I'm good. It's fine. I'm sorry, folks. I'll see myself out. Guys, folks, you're listening to Sasquatch Experience on Facebook, Instagram, Squatch EXP on Twitter. Also, you can catch us on Twitch. You can catch us on YouTube. You can catch us on Facebook Live. This show's streaming wherever you can get a stream out. It's like a fountain spreading our knowledge. We have some great listeners tonight. I want to thank them all. A new listener, Vincent, says this is a great show, and if I don't catch it live, I'll watch it later. There's so many Sasquatch podcasts that are not good or believable that the show's worth watching get lost in the shuffle. I agree with that, Vincent. We appreciate you stopping in, saying hello tonight, joining us on the show, and watching me get fired for my last program, so I appreciate that. Guys, I'm hard on myself. You know, as we said, we've been getting better at the technical pieces. I just really kicked that one right in the nuts. Anyhow,
well, that's okay.
We were having a great conversation about this. If you're just joining us, this Alabama activities, right? This activity on this, I guess we could call it a farm. Matt, you looked at the map exactly. What would you call it? Just a homestead or a?
Probably a homestead. Yeah. I mean, it looks like, there's more woods than fields. So
sure.
That's where I would put it.
I
did have an interesting. What's that?
Our Lon Strickler, our good friend over at Phantoms and Monsters, has said, I've been saying for over 2 years that Alabama is very active. Lon, you're right. And it's proving itself to be quite fruitful. If I wasn't afraid of all the things that could kill you in the South, I would spend more time down there.
Absolutely.
How about it? Go ahead, Matt. I'm sorry.
I want to kind of wrap up everything that we were talking about, though, with this particular case. Sure. Is how would we go about doing this? We had great suggestions. Again, we all put our expertise together, and the one thing that I really want to kind of get out is you don't have to be that outdoors person, boots on the ground, to do this research and to get involved and be exceptional in the field. We have different facets here. And the one thing is Vance talked about, looking at, the weather data, looking at different data that we have. Then we have me saying, hey, I'm going to go out and check this area. You came out and said, hey, you know what? I want to put cameras up in the barn. I want to have this. Henry brought up some other points as well. It's blending all those together. And we all have our strengths and we have our weaknesses too. I'm not really good at setting up the cameras. I'm a little kind of nerdy, so I'll sit with Vance and look over some of the data. But really, to combine all of those traits, into a group would be a fantastic way to do the research.
Very much agreed. I think that's, again, we go to the strength of teamwork, right? Mm-hmm. What we all bring, what everybody would bring to the table. And there's some technical pieces of that. We do need to start collecting some of that data.
Yes.
And again, it doesn't have to just be this particular case. We chose this case because it was interesting. We know Alabama's been quite busy. We've read some reports over the years of Alabama Bigfoot. We have friends of Bama Bigfoot, Henry, our friends down in Alabama. There's actually a couple organizations down there doing some good work. And I'd like to, perhaps we'll get one of them on the show here to talk more about the Alabama and see if they have any more insight they can give us in this particular area. I drew comparisons to this to what was going on and the call for help when they were having the incident in Hanabi, Oklahoma. Right. You can read all about that in Tom Powell's book, The Locals, but that started off as consistent activity going around a farmhouse in Oklahoma, surrounded by woods, Bigfoot trying to get into the freezer outside, trying to get into the home on several occasions, and BFRO put out a call to help and brought in a investigator and his father to try to take one of these guys out, and it kind of became a siege. Right. In fact, I believe that ultimately the folks left the home and they weren't coming back, but they were providing a food source, right? When you start pecking off those deer in the surrounding area, it's just no different than some of these areas we've talked about in Pennsylvania, Gray Station, these areas where there's a high concentration of a quick food source. Mm-hmm. Don't have to spend the energy, burn the calories to get the calories. And Vance, you made that point earlier tonight, as I really think there's something to that. As we talk about some of the things that have happened, Matt, in Catawissa, not far from where we've had encounters, there is a roadkill dump where they take the bodies. I think that'd be a great place to put up some cameras if we could get permission to do that. We go through all these postulating about these things being able to see in a different spectrum. Maybe they could see the light or pick up the frequency. Here's the bottom line. At some point, we're going to find one that has some sort of challenge, may not be as smart or bright as the rest of the Bigfoot, and it's going to stumble into someone's camera, or it's going to stumble into one of these camera traps, and we're going to get proof of it. And that way, I really believe it could happen.
I think that, Sean, you and I had a conversation earlier. What all of our take would be on a different approach of scientific research other than what's been done currently with the camera traps and the audio recorders. What other venues would we look into to try to capture something that may be out there and catch it off guard, completely catch it off guard?
I tell you what,
a
Vance,
different approach.
I would love to just be able to sit at Ring HQ or Blink HQ or Simple Safe HQ and just watch all the video feeds coming in. That I know that's probably hella illegal, but I would just love to be able to be one of those data analysts where that imagery is coming in.
Right.
And seeing what we may not be seeing as Bigfoot researchers, we may not be seeing to the general public. There are so many people now with home security systems and home video systems that at some point we're going to get something on camera. And we go back to that one gentleman, I think from Arkansas, I think Mike Coleman was his name off the top of my head, so folks forgive me if I'm wrong, that had a home security system and he was picking up things. We were talking to David Wilbanks about this person, and he's in David Wilbanks' book, I believe. He moved to Arkansas. I believe he was in Oklahoma. And he was getting some very interesting video, but you couldn't see what it was because the quality wasn't there. It was finding a way to stay out of the video, right? And so we're not dealing with a dumb animal. We're not dealing with a dumb subject. We do have something with some intelligence. It's, I think we're using these techniques, we're going to get something. I really do. And as the technology becomes more affordable for people, now I'm kind of talking tongue in cheek because last night I did an interview with Paranormal NL Radio that my good friend Brian Bowden set me up with. I was talking about how I really think technology's also become a hindrance because it's distracted us from so much
totally
when we're out in the field. So we do have to find that delicate balance, but when it's done right, it's so right and so good. So
in that vein, what you were just saying, Sean, I just sent you through Messenger a post that my wife had put up on Facebook, and you have permission to put it on here. And this is a ring cam. Well, I forget what we have, Blink. And from our front door with a bear that comes right across, it goes right to my truck, sniffs away, and then it goes out. So I'm sure that it's possible for something like this, especially in these rural areas, to be picked up on a doorbell cam.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 1 second, Matt. I'm actually going to play that for the people here. Where are we at? Where are you at? There I'm at. Okay. Mm-hmm. Of course, I got it in another window.
Well,
Share
that's okay.
screen.
While you're doing that, I think there's a few other tactics we could take in order to capture evidence, other than the camera, that I would like
Folks able to see
discuss
that?
in a future up and coming Sasquatch Experience show.
Here we are.
Here we go.
Oh, look at that.
Yep. And that's the bear. That's the little bear.
But these are the things we're talking about, being able to, see those things in real time. But how much of that else is out there? We're just talking about, we're talking about bear in this particular instance, but how about that ability to be able to just be able to sit in a room and see all that data that you could pull through and see what's out there? It's crazy. Vincent says that's true. Technology can make or break. You look at the Patterson-Gimlin film. It hasn't been proven a hoax because it was taken with such an old camera. And Vance and I have had that conversation ad nauseum about analog to digital. And is there something about analog technology that makes it more attractive to filming, to getting a subject? Right. Because the Sierra sounds were done analog.
Yeah. Even taking an old VHS camera, I think it would be fruitful. I look at the Freeman footage was I believe that was done with one of those.
It was absolutely, Matt.
Yep.
Yeah, the Freeman film. Guys, we've already blown through this hour almost already, but we've had some great dialogue.
Wow.
Yeah. We had some great dialogue and discussion.
I'm having too much fun. We can't stop now.
You started this conversation by wanting to go down this path, and I think it was well worth taking. I really do. I think it brings us, gives us our ability to share our thoughts with the listeners on how we would investigate. Of course, I'll clean up the show so it's not so messy in post because El Fort Chop was a dumbass tonight. But we had some great conversation about everything that was going on. Go ahead, Matt.
I wanted to add one other thing about Alabama itself. And that is, I'm looking at the sightings from the BFRO map, and it has actually the map up. Mm-hmm. And it includes, you have Georgia, on one side you have Florida, Mississippi. But you look at the panhandle of Florida, and on the BFRO sightings, and almost that whole panhandle's yellow, that they're sightings. But then you go across the state line and there's nothing. And what I'm thinking about that is it's similar to us in Pennsylvania where you're, over into the Alabama side, you're looking at counties that just don't have, the people out there, or they may have that, stigma about reporting a Bigfoot sighting. So there's something. I don't think that Bigfoot's just staying on the other side of that state line. I mean, if people are down, that would be a great spot to go down and get to check that area out. So anyone's listening from Alabama, Florida, Southern Georgia, head on over to that area. I think even though there's no sightings reported, I think it's still something to check out.
I agree. even if you were hiking through the area and you're a backwoodsman and you had a compass, you're not going to recognize state lines.
Correct.
You just don't, nor do any animal recognize state lines. You just continue doing whatever it is that you're doing, and if you have an encounter, you've been encountered wherever that's at. So in this whole state line thing, there's never been a black bear start. Well, black bears don't understand what the state line boundaries are. So that has a lot.
They
to
don't
throw
turn
into
back
this
and
too.
Yep.
Right. Well, folks, we've hit that time. It's 9:58. We got to call it. Henry, why don't you go ahead and take us out with that beautiful Southern drawl?
Y'all be good or be good-headed.
Folks, pay attention to us on social media, Sasquatch Experience on Facebook, Instagram, Squatch EXP. You can find all of us on our own social media. I'm at Sean Forker on everything. He's Henry B. May the 4th. Vance Nesbitt's got his own personal OnlyFans going on if you want to check that out.
Yeah, that's what it is.
And Matt Arner right there at Cryptic Wilderness. You can find him. And where else can they find you guys?
Yeah,
Pretty much just Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
Facebook,
Just go to Vance Nesbitt on Facebook, and my OnlyFans is just my left nipple only.
Good God. It's only AC is where he's going after that, only air conditioning. Folks, thanks for listening. I'm Sean the Fort Chop Forker. As Henry said, you heard those beautiful words. Keep on squatching. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to Sasquatch Experience. Please rate and review where this podcast has been consumed. To share your experience, visit us on Facebook, our website, or email us, info@sasquatchexperience.com. Keep on squatching.